You're listening to John Maytham on 567 Cape Talk.
Cape Talk.
Your number one news and talk station.
Time now, I think, to talk a little bit about the holiday in Madagascar, which quite a few people have been asking me to do. In a word, brilliant. In a lot of words, hey, it was probably one of the best, if not the best holiday that we have ever had. A lot of people, when they heard that we were going to Madagascar, said, "Oh, aren't you worried about safety? There has been political unrest, there has been political violence in Madagascar." And hey, that hasn't gone away. That threat is still there. But I can honestly say that at no time in the just over 2 weeks that we were in the capital and up in the north and in the northwest, at no time did we feel at all threatened. At no time did we feel that we were the target of criminals. At no time did we think that we might get caught up in something that was dangerous to us. So that's perhaps the first thing to say. Can't guarantee that that's always going to be the case, but that was our experience. Holiday was divided into two sections. First of all, when we flew into the capital, Antananarivo, we spent a night there, which was very interesting. Typical sort of African capital. Lots of poverty, lots of multinationals putting up quite new and glitzy buildings in there. But the majority of people are poor. They're hardworking. They're desperately trying to scratch a living out of any way that they can. But we felt safe, we felt comfortable, we found a wonderful French restaurant where we had some lovely food. And then we flew up to the north, where we spent 4 days at two of the nature reserves up in the north. Montombre, which is the northernmost reserve, it's north of Diego Suarez, and then slightly south westerly it would be to Ankarana. And that was all about looking for lemurs, and we saw quite a few lemurs. We saw sandfords, we saw crowned, we saw mouse lemur, we saw northern spotted lemur, saw eye. It was about seeing the chameleons. It's amazing, these chameleons, and the geckos, and these masters of disguise. And it was about plants, and it was about birds. It was about an entirely different kind of scenery. It was just about a very different sort of experience, which was... everywhere we stayed, the two places that we stayed were both very, very comfortable. You want the beer to be cold and you want the water to be hot, and both places we stayed, those criteria were met absolutely. Wonderful people, Zezi and Marshall, who looked after us. One was our guide, one was our driver. They were absolutely fabulous. They were very helpful in interpreting the strangeness of what we were going through for us, and those 4 days were just 4 or 5 days were just absolutely brilliant. We saw stunning birds, we saw amazing trees, 4 baobab species, for example, in Ankarana. They got this strange limestone stuff called singi, 180-year-old limestone, coming up in a volcanic eruption 180 million years ago, and now abraded by the rain, and it's this extraordinary moonscape. And there's a cave in Ankarana, a cave of the bats, and one of the caves in the system has got tens of thousands of bats in, and you switch off the torch and you're there in the darkness with tens of thousands of bats zizzing around you. It's an extraordinary experience. And then the other arm of the caves, there's some wonderful stalactites and stalagmites, very impressive stuff, without any of the commercial glitz that you get at a place like the Kango Cave. So that was absolutely wonderful. And then the pièce de résistance, it was just, we can't rave highly enough about it. It was the week that we had on traditional Malagasy dhow, sailing the islands around Nosy Bay, which is the biggest satellite island off Madagascar, which is itself the fourth biggest island in the world. So it's an interesting story. I mean, a Komiki resident, a guy called Ross, a couple of years ago wanted to take some time off work, and he wanted to sail the Indian Ocean looking for perfect surfing spots. So he bought a yacht, wasn't an expert sailor, so he asked a yachty mate of his if he knew anybody who could teach Ross the ropes. And this bloke recommended a bloke from Nosy Bay Island. This is a bloke called Mohammed. I've been sailing with. He's fantastic. He's free. So Ross and Mohammed sailed the Indian Ocean for 2 years. And at the end of that, Mohammed said, "Now what?" And after some discussion, they came up with a plan of building a traditional Malagasy dhow and using that to transport tourists around. A couple of years later, they built another one. They've refined the operation, and it is near perfect. It is perfect. I don't know what they could have done better. I mean, it's about sailing on the dhow between the islands. There are 3 bases that they have, semi-permanent bases. One you stay in tents, the other 2 you stay in little A-frame huts. It's basic, but it's incredibly comfortable. Ross, for many years, ran river rafters, and he perfected the art of keeping people comfortable while staying basic, because basic is more respectful to the environment and basic is cheaper. So the food is fresh, it's good, the beer is always cold, and you sail and you walk and you snorkel and you kayak and you swim and you relax and you do what you want to do. The snorkeling is amazing. I mean, I don't have much in the way of reference points. I haven't done a lot of snorkeling. But the stuff that we saw underwater, the variety and the numbers, I was trying to keep track in my head of the different fish that I was seeing with these extraordinary, unbelievable, eccentric color patterns. And you get to about you think, I've seen 75 different fish in the 2 hours that I've been underwater. And it's all geared about being relaxed. So you're sailing along, you see a pod of dolphins, you say, Mohammed, stop the ship. Mohammed stops the ship and you dive in and you swim with the dolphins. If you're just sailing along and you're feeling hot, you say, stop the ship, and you jump off board and you swim. And, yeah, close encounters with turtles, and, you kayak when you want to kayak, and if you want to fish, then you fish. And we were just so relaxed for 7 beautiful, beautiful days. So, we certainly want to go back. It was a fabulous experience. I'm going to put something up on the website with all the details that you might need. We were looked after by a company called Jenman Safaris, who did most of the bookings. They did all the bookings for us, and they were incredibly helpful and incredibly knowledgeable. And then this Madagascar Island Safaris that did the boat trip for us, also fantastic. But I'll put all those details up once I've collected the photographs, and I'll put that up on the web and let you know that it's there.